Hello there, everybody, and I hope everybody's having a good weekend and you're all getting ready. At least those of you who are in the States are getting ready for Thanksgiving week. It's going to come up this and so, well, unofficially or unofficially, depending on how you want to look at it, it's the beginning of the holiday season. So things are starting to get busy, right? Um, and I was thinking about Thanksgiving when I came up with this quote, which I'll get to in a little bit, but let me give you the quote first. Your life is a result of your choices. If you don't like your life, it's time to make better choices. Remember, sometimes it's the smallest decisions that can change your life forever. That comes from Zig Ziglar, who's and I just the idea just went out of my motivational speaker. There we go. Reached me that age of life in which the words just disappear on me. Um, I realize that many of you are going to say something like, my life is a result of what somebody else does or what other things happen or because of X, Y, and Z. And I would pretty much argue against that. Yes, some of those things do impact your life, but it's how you react to those things. It's your choices to those things that really make a bigger impact. Now, before we get into that kind of issue, you actually do believe to some degree with what I'm saying. Because when you think about it, you see other people do things, usually negative. Sometimes you see them do something positive. Don't you say something to the effect of, oh, so and so made a really good choice, or so and so made a bad choice? Maybe you recently saw somebody who's got a new relationship and you're sitting there thinking that was a really bad choice, or maybe that was a really good choice. Don't you say the same thing, something about yourself? If you've ever said anything to the effect of, why do I keep ending up in this position? Why do these things always happen to me? If you think about it, aren't you really saying that you're making decisions that keep getting you to repeat things that you end up don't not liking? So part of where I'm coming from with this particular quote is to get you to start thinking in terms of maybe perhaps you should start looking at some slightly different choices. Now, the second part is the big thing here in the sense is you don't have to make really, really huge different choices. Sometimes it's the little ones. So let's just say bad relationships. Maybe if you look at all the relationships you've got into that you didn't like, can you think of one thing about those people that maybe attracted you, that might be a commonality across all of them? And then can you become aware, react the same way? Can you think in terms of something else that you might react better to or react differently? So let's just say, I don't know, you see somebody and he's wearing a purple shirt. Yeah, just because I'm wearing purple. So maybe the next time if you see somebody wearing a purple shirt, you're not going to react quite the same way as you would and you would have reacted in the past. This is not a big deal in the sense of it's not an overwhelming, massive change, but it gets you to sit back and start looking and doing different things. You might want to wait for a while and try certain things out. Because again, if you think in terms of the definition of insanity, or at least the one that's common anyway, is you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So in this particular scenario, if you keep seeing people who wear purple shirts and you get involved with them and you end up saying, why did I do this? Because this was a bad choice, then stop getting involved with people in purple shirts because you keep going through the same thing. So you need to start making slightly different decisions. You do this slightly you do this similarly but slightly different when you think in terms of food. You think in terms of I want to lose weight, but you tend to be addicted to certain things. Can you like not buy them and not put them in your house and have something to do with you set something up, like not ask other people to offer them to you? All it takes is a small change that might, as they say, make a really big difference. Now, back to the Thanksgiving comment that I made earlier. I was thinking about that because some of you are going to go into or have already started thinking about the idea that when Thanksgiving comes, some of you anyway, can frequently recognize that there's going to be situations that seem to happen every year, that make you upset or whatever. Maybe somebody gets drunk, maybe a big fight starts, whatever. What I'm wondering is if you can stop and think in terms of some small change that you could make that might make the change happen, that might make Thanksgiving change. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you go to Thanksgiving and you see a cousin or a brother or somebody and you have a couple of smart alecky responses at which point an uncle says something to the effect of, do you have to do that, or some such thing like that. Maybe you should talk to your cousin or whatever ahead of time and not make that comment. No big deal. I mean, it's not going to be earth shattering, but you're not making that smart aleck comment, which therefore your uncle is not going to make any comment. You might wonder what's going on, perhaps, could be, but he's not going to do that. So could there be like a domino effect that's going to change certain behaviors if you don't do something simple like that? Now, maybe your aunt, who's a senior citizen, tends to tell the same story. Now, assuming, of course, that your aunt's got some degree of cognitive awareness, when she gets ready to start the story that you've heard 47 times every time on Thanksgiving, could you say something to the effect of, that's a really cool story that you keep telling. That must have been really important to you. Can you think of anything else that happened with, say, me on Thanksgiving that you can remember that was really cool and is important too? In other words, acknowledging that she's got a story, acknowledging that it was important to her, because obviously it must be if she keeps telling it over and over again, but to try and get her to start changing into a different story, change it ever so slightly, maybe ask about you, like I said, does she remember your first Thanksgiving, or Thanksgiving in which you did something silly or whatever? Or if you remember an early Thanksgiving, you could say something, do you remember the Thanksgiving when I did whatever? So she's going to get into a story most likely, but if you could change the story that she tells, might this change other things, which change other things, which change other things, and therefore the whole process of the Thanksgiving doesn't end up being its normal process that's happened for the last, 10 or 15 years. So if you're, and this could go for anything. I'm just using Thanksgiving because that frequently will come up and people start worrying because, Uncle Fred's going to end up drunk, or somebody's going to be watching the football game, or this, that, and the other. If you start thinking in terms ahead of time about little things that you could do or not do, as the case may be, 2 or 3 that might change other people's behavior, which might change the whole outcome of the Thanksgiving day. Might not, but it might be the experiment to see what does happen. I wonder if anybody would come up and say, you usually do this, why aren't you? And to see where that goes. Now, not thinking about Thanksgiving, you could do this at any point in time. People at work, somebody says something and you groan or roll your eyes. What would happen if you ignored it and didn't respond? If you've got somebody that you don't like because they're always doing X, Y, and Z, is there something that you could do to change ever so slightly so that you're not reacting, or that if that person makes a reaction because you did something, let's just say you made a cup of coffee or something, just go with me on this. If you did something first and then they react to you, what if you didn't do that thing? So that when we're talking here about choices, or where I'm coming from when I'm looking at this, and I think this is what Ziegler is talking about, when you start making your small choices, it can have a ripple effect that can be ultimately really big later. So it only takes a few small choices to start changing things over the course of time. If you said, like, thank you instead of grumble to somebody, might that make your day go better? Might not, but if you continue to do that over the course of a few weeks, I suspect that things would start improving in your life. Why not try it? What have you got to lose? We're going through the holiday season. I mean, why not try something? Because you may be seeing different people that you normally don't see, or seeing the same people but in different situations. Try it and see what happens. You might be surprised. I hope this makes sense. And if any of you do try it, let me know. And let us all know what happened and what the outcome of it was. Do you think I'm just completely all wet? The idea has absolutely no use whatsoever. At which point Zig Ziglar and I would, both probably be disappointed, but that's beside the point. Well, it really doesn't matter. But let us know how it goes, okay? And I do hope those of you who are in the States, or Americans maybe not even being in the States, but you may still be celebrating it someplace else. I hope you all have a really great Thanksgiving. I'm not going to say anything about don't eat too much, because I know that that's not going to work anyway. And so we will just simply chat with you later. I hope you found this helpful. Let me know. I'd appreciate it. We'll talk to you later. Bye.